Kasim, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Drug discovery is a very long, expensive, and painful process. You have worked here pretty much your entire career, decided to go back to India and set up shop. At a time, even to now, India is still known for generic drug manufacturing. There is but nascent stages of drug discovery and work and research on that. As an entrepreneur, I'm trying to learn from you, first as a scientist, then an entrepreneur, to start this initiative as an enterprise, Advinus, that you run. What made you, or what gave you the confidence to go back to India and do this?
Excellent point. India had signed the TRIPS agreement, and therefore recognition of intellectual property right made it feasible for us to discover new drugs, patent them out of India with the knowledge and the confidence that the IP rights would be respected. That was one. The second important thing was the talent in India is incredibly good. The scientists in India, both in chemistry and in biology, were hungry for contributing to medicine and health. And I felt that if I could share my experiences with them when I went back, that we could get this talent pool to contribute to the global healthcare issues. So that was the second thing. The third thing was that India is poised to take off in a big way. It already is. Yeah, there are glitches, but it's taking off. And healthcare is going to be an everlasting problem. And I felt that India should take its rightful place in the global scenario in healthcare by producing its own medicines and its own healthcare solutions to provide for better well-being.
You know, when you look from the other side of the prism, which is the Western side of the prism, I mean, if you leave the political equation out of it, there are some genuine challenges with countries like India in terms of research and development. I mean, you said, you know, the IP production allowed you to go there, but the pure effort that goes into producing a quality drug is not yet, you know, reached a stage where it's verified, acceptable in the broader mainstream. Where do you think people like you need to address these issues so, you know, it is more acceptable in the mainstream?
Very good point. And I addressed this in my conversations when I was on the panel. So it turns out that innovation actually is shifting globally, and that includes healthcare innovation as well. You know, the nano car was completely developed in India and is now getting ready for marketing worldwide. Well, very similarly, one of the speakers in today's panel talked about a vaccine that was developed by the Serum Institute in India for global use. But there is another story here. The first NCE ever from India has been approved for malaria in India, and that is going to go for global regulatory approvals as well. So innovation is shifting towards the emerging countries. It's not necessary anymore that all innovation will arise only here. With time, I think that it'll be evenly spread, and it'll be a global innovation. And it doesn't matter whether it is discovered in the West or in the emerging countries, but it'll be discovered anywhere in the world and marketed all over the world. And that's where we are heading. And these are examples how such is happening, the malaria medicine, the vaccine, and hopefully what we are also trying to do.
I have an entrepreneurial question. For startups, if you look at US, if it's a technology startup in Silicon Valley, you know, there is all the processes in place. You know exactly where you start, how you get funding, how you exit. So your exit strategy is always in place, you know, while you're starting the company. With a situation like yours, where you have 10 to 15 years of, you know, clinical trials involved, a lot of money that goes into it. For small companies, you know, starting out in your space, you have to tie up with a bigger, better company who can take you to the next level. In your case, Tatas were the ones who came calling. how important do you think it is at this stage before you can think of growing organically and taking it to an IPO stage?
I think it is very possible to do this. However, if you look at the pharma industry today, it's undergoing a radical revolution. What used to be monolithic, very large organizations that essentially did everything from idea to marketing is now breaking up into bits and pieces around there. It turns out that a lot of innovation is actually now going to occur with smaller companies globally. I'm talking mature markets now. So many large pharmas have actually divested of R&D and are only going to be taking on late-stage development and commercialization of products after the proof of concept has been achieved. What that does is that it has spread out innovation to a larger field, and therefore I think that diversity, which will be more productive. Similarly in India. In India, traditionally drug discovery was done by large companies that had businesses either in manufacturing or in generics. And their profits from that could fund the small discovery efforts that they could make. Small companies needed to get risk capital to be able to do this, and we were fortunate that the Tatas supported us, were interested in our ideas. But we also tried out a unique business model. What we did was we had two arms of the organization, R and a D. And in R, we were doing risk-reward sharing kinds of value building. But in D, what we did was we were doing contract research work that would provide the revenues and the profits that could support the R. So in that way, we're trying to bring the whole risk down. It's a unique model. There are not many companies that actually do this kind of stuff, just because the funding of the two arms comes from different sources, risk capital versus private equity or growth capital. But we are doing it, and we are still alive, and we're still together as two different arms of the organization, and we're doing well. We've built a pipeline that is the envy of many companies, and we have a client base that addresses most of the top 20 clients in the world in the pharma for the contract research organizations. So it is spreading out everywhere in India and globally.
It's a pleasure again. Thank you so much, and
Great.
wishing you the very best.
Thank you very much. Great.